Captain Deho stood on the bridge of the luminous Hope and watched another world die. Through the observation window, the planet below glowed orange and red as orbital bombardment turned cities into ash. He had seen this 3 times already in the past month. Each time it felt worse. How many people were down there? Deho asked quietly. The alien communications officer beside him trembled as she checked her screen. 4 billion. Maybe more, her voice cracked. We couldn't evacuate them all in time. Deho clenched his fists. He was just one human, serving as a liaison officer with the Velarix Confederacy. His job was to observe and report back to Earth, nothing more. But watching entire civilizations burn made him feel useless. The Confederacy was losing this war badly. The enemy was called the Krithar Empire, and they were ruthless. They had better weapons, faster ships, and shields that seemed impossible to break. In just 3 months, they had conquered 40 star systems. 40 systems that had been home to trillions of beings. Captain Deho, a deep voice called. High Chancellor Vextar approached, his old body moving slowly. The Chancellor was the leader of all 12 species in the Confederacy. He looked exhausted. We need to talk privately. They walked to a small meeting room. Inside, several other Confederacy leaders waited. They all looked scared. We are going to lose this war, Vextar said bluntly. Our military advisors give us 2 more months before the Krithar reach our core worlds. After that, the Confederacy will cease to exist. Deho nodded slowly. He had suspected this, but hearing it confirmed felt like a punch to the gut. We have a desperate plan, Vextar continued. Ancient records show that humanity once defended weaker species. Long ago, before your people became isolated, they fought to protect others. We want to invoke the Treaty of Sanctuary and ask Earth for help. Deho blinked in surprise. The Treaty of Sanctuary? That's over 200 years old. I don't even know if Earth still honors it. We have no other choice, another leader said. We are dying. Our children are dying. If there is even a small chance that humanity will help us, we must try. Deho thought about Earth. His homeworld had withdrawn from galactic affairs 2 centuries ago. Nobody knew why. Humanity had simply pulled back all their ships, closed their borders, and stopped talking to aliens. Some species thought humans had gone extinct. Others believed they had destroyed themselves in a civil war. But Deho knew Earth was still there. He had come from there just 6 months ago to serve as a liaison. Earth was alive and well. What they were doing behind their closed borders, however, was a mystery even to him. I'll send your message, Deho said. But I can't promise anything. Earth might not even respond. We understand, Vextar said sadly, but we must try. 2 days later, the luminous Hope was traveling through deep space when alarms screamed. Deho ran to the bridge just as weapons fire lit up the darkness. 3 Krithar warships had appeared from nowhere, surrounding them. Battle stations, the captain shouted. Shields at maximum. The luminous Hope fired back, but it was useless. The Confederacy's weapons splashed harmlessly against the Krithar's quantum shields. Meanwhile, the enemy's weapons tore through their defenses like paper. We can't fight them, the tactical officer screamed. Our shields are failing. Deho grabbed a console to steady himself as the ship shook violently. Through the window, he saw one of their escort ships explode in a brilliant flash. Then another. They were being slaughtered. Emergency jump, the captain ordered. Get us out of here now. The ship's engines whined as they tried to open a faster-than-light portal. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. Then space twisted and they jumped away just as a Krithar weapon would have destroyed them. When they arrived at the emergency rally point, only 3 ships remained from their battle group of 20. Deho felt sick. So many people had died in minutes. Send the message to Earth, Vextar said quietly, standing in the ruined bridge. Tell them what you saw. Tell them we are dying. Deho recorded everything. The burning worlds, the slaughter of the Confederacy fleets, the Krithar's unstoppable advance. He sent it all through the old FTL communication channels to Earth, along with the Confederacy's desperate plea for help. Then they waited. Days passed with no response. The Confederacy's situation grew worse. More systems fell. More billions died. Hope faded. Deho sat alone in his quarters one evening when his personal communicator beeped. His eyes went wide. It was a direct line from Earth Fleet Command. The signal was encoded with military-grade encryption. This is Captain Deho, he answered quickly. A woman's face appeared on the screen. She wore the uniform of an Earth Fleet admiral. Deho recognized her immediately. Admiral Yuna, one of the highest-ranking officers in humanity's military. "Captain Deho," Una said calmly. "We received the Confederacy's message. We've been reviewing the situation." "Admiral, they're dying out here," Deho said urgently. "The Krethar are unstoppable. The Confederacy has maybe 2 months left before—" "We know," Una interrupted. "We've been monitoring the Krethar Empire for some time. They're a threat that needs to be addressed." Deho's heart raced. "Does that mean Earth will help?" Una's expression was unreadable. "Operation Nightfall has been approved. Tell the Confederacy to transmit all current Krethar fleet positions and strength assessments." "When will Earth's forces arrive?" Deho asked. "The Confederacy can prepare a staging area, but it will take time to mobilize." 14 hours, Una said simply. Deho stared at her in shock. "What?" "Admiral, Earth is 3 months away at maximum FTL speed. Even if you had ships ready right now?" 14 hours, Captain, Una repeated. "We've made significant advances in FTL technology during our isolation. Have the Confederacy transmit those coordinates. Humanity is coming." The screen went dark. Deho sat frozen for a moment, then scrambled to find High Chancellor Vextar. He found the old leader in a strategy meeting with other Confederacy officials. They were looking at maps showing how the Krethar would likely advance. "Earth is sending help," Deho blurted out. Everyone stopped and stared at him. "How long until they arrive?" Vextar asked. "Months? We may not have—" 14 hours, Deho said. Silence filled the room. Then nervous laughter. "Captain Deho," Vextar said gently, "I appreciate your optimism, but Earth is very far away. Perhaps you misunderstood." "I spoke directly with Admiral Una of Earth Fleet Command," Deho insisted. "She said 14 hours. She wants all Krethar fleet positions immediately." The laughter died. The Confederacy leaders looked at each other with confusion and a tiny spark of hope. "If Earth truly has FTL technology that advanced," a military advisor said slowly, "then perhaps they have other advances too. Transmit everything to them," Vextar ordered. "All intelligence on Krethar positions, fleet strengths, and capabilities. If humanity is coming, they need to know what they're facing." The Confederacy sent every piece of data they had. The Krethars' main armada was preparing to attack another homeworld. 3,000 warships, the largest fleet the Confederacy had ever seen in one place. It was meant to be the killing blow. 14 hours later, sensors detected something at the edge of that system. Ships were arriving, but they didn't look like anything in the Confederacy's databases.
"How many?"
Vextar asked, watching the live feed from their remote probes. "Counting now," a sensor officer said, her voice shaking. "I'm reading 47 vessels." Deho's blood ran cold. 47 ships against 3,000? Earth had sent a token force. They were going to be massacred. "This can't be right," Vextar whispered. "Why would they send so few?" On the screen, the human ships held position at the system's edge. They were strange designs, sleek and dark, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. They moved with unnatural precision, like a school of fish swimming in perfect formation. Then a message broadcast on all frequencies. It was Admiral Una's voice, calm and clear. "This is the Terran Defense Initiative. We are here on behalf of the Valarix Confederacy, Krethar forces. You have one opportunity to withdraw from this system and return all conquered territories. This is your only warning." Deho and everyone watching held their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. War Marshal Thraknor sat in his command throne aboard the massive dreadnought Eternal Fury and laughed. The sound echoed through the bridge as his officers looked at him with amusement. "Did you hear that?" Thraknor asked, still chuckling. "These humans think 47 ships can threaten our armada." 47. Around his flagship, 3,000 Krethar warships hung in space like a swarm of metal insects. They had been preparing to bombard another Confederacy world when these strange vessels appeared. Thraknor had read the basic reports about humanity. They were a minor species that had hidden away 200 years ago, probably because they were weak and afraid. "Shall we respond, War Marshal?" his communications officer asked. "Yes," Thraknor said, wiping tears of laughter from his eyes. "Tell these humans that the Krethar Empire does not negotiate with insects. Tell them to run home before we add their worlds to our conquest list." The message was sent. For a moment, nothing happened. Then one of the human ships responded. The voice was male, young, and completely calm. "This is Commander Jinwu of the Terran vessel Silent Thunder. Your response has been noted. All civilian vessels in the system have been evacuated. There are no innocents left in the combat zone. A pause. You chose poorly. Thraknor's amusement faded. The arrogance of these creatures. He stood from his throne and pointed at the tactical display. All ships attack formation, he commanded. I want those human vessels destroyed. Leave nothing but atoms. 3,000 Krithar warships turned toward the 47 human vessels. It should have been a massacre. The humans were outnumbered 60-1. Their ships were small compared to Krithar dreadnoughts. This would be over in minutes. Target their engines first, Thraknor ordered. I want at least one captured intact so our scientists can study their FTL technology. The Krithar fleet surged forward, weapons charging. Their quantum shields glowed with purple energy, the technology that made them invincible. No Confederacy weapon could penetrate those shields. The humans would learn that lesson the hard way. On the human flagship, Commander Jinwoo watched the approaching armada with calm eyes. Beside him, Lieutenant Sora worked at the tactical station, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. All enemy vessels locked, Sora reported. Firing solutions calculated. Casualties projected at 0. Ours or theirs? Asked a young engineer named Hyunwoo from his station. Ours, Sora replied. Theirs is complete, Jinwoo nodded. Communications broadcast on all Confederacy channels. They should see this. Across Confederacy space, millions watched the live feed from remote sensors. They saw the massive Krithar fleet bearing down on the tiny human force. Many closed their eyes, unable to watch another slaughter. Others prayed to their gods that humanity had some miracle planned. Captain Deho watched from the luminous hope with his heart pounding. He wanted to believe Earth could win, but the numbers were impossible. Maybe the humans had a secret weapon. Maybe they planned to retreat at the last second. Maybe. All ships. Commander Jinwoo's voice was transmitted across every channel. Weapons free. Fire. The human ships didn't fire missiles or lasers or plasma bolts like normal vessels. Instead, space itself seemed to shatter around the Krithar fleet. Reality cracked like broken glass. Dimensional rifts opened directly inside Krithar vessels, bypassing their shields completely. Ships simply tore apart from the inside as the fabric of space ripped through them. Singularity lances created tiny black holes that existed for microseconds, crushing dozens of vessels and gravitational wells before collapsing. Reality anchors froze ships in place, making them unable to move or even exist properly in normal space. The Krithar fleet tried to fight back, but their weapons couldn't track the human ships. Earth's vessels seemed to flicker in and out of existence, moving through dimensions the Krithar couldn't even detect. When Krithar weapons did fire, they passed through empty space where human ships had been nanoseconds before. Thraknor watched in growing horror as his fleet died. Ships exploded or simply vanished. His quantum shields, the technology that made the Krithar unstoppable, did nothing. The human weapons didn't touch the shields. They appeared inside them, behind them, around them. Return fire. Thraknor screamed. Kill them! Kill them! But there was nothing to shoot at. The human ships moved like ghosts. Every time his gunners locked onto one, it phased out of normal space before weapons could fire. In 4 minutes, 2,000 Krithar ships were gone. In 6 minutes, only a few hundred remained. Thraknor's officers panicked, abandoning their stations and running for escape pods. Stand your ground! Thraknor roared, but it was useless. His fleet was being erased from existence. At the 7-minute mark, Commander Jinwoo's voice came through the communications again, still perfectly calm. Krithar vessels, cease all hostile actions immediately or be destroyed. This is your final warning. Thraknor looked at his tactical display. Of his 3,000 ships, only 153 remained. And the humans hadn't even been touched. Not a single scratch on their vessels. We surrender, Thraknor whispered, collapsing into his throne. We surrender. The destruction stopped instantly. The human ships held position, weapons still active but not firing. All Krithar vessels will power down weapons and shields, Jinwoo ordered. Any ship that refuses will be eliminated. You have 30 seconds to comply. Every surviving Krithar ship powered down immediately. They had no fight left in them. Aboard the Luminous Hope, dead silence filled the bridge. Captain Deho stared at the sensor readings with his mouth hanging open. High Chancellor Vextar gripped a console for support, his old hands shaking. How? Someone whispered. How is that possible? Did you see their weapons? Another officer said in a daze. They tore through quantum shields like they weren't even there. The battle lasted 7 minutes, the tactical officer said, voice hollow. 7 minutes and they destroyed almost 3,000 ships. Deho finally found his voice. What has Earth been doing for 200 years? On the human flagship, Lieutenant Sora finished her post-battle report. Commander, final count. 2,847 enemy vessels destroyed. 153 surrendered. Our casualties 0. Ammunition expended 12%. All systems nominal. Very good, Jinwoo said. He opened a channel to Admiral Yuna back at Earth Command. Admiral, Operation Nightfall Phase 1 complete. Enemy main fleet neutralized. Awaiting further orders. Yuna's face appeared on screen. Excellent work, Commander. Secure the prisoners and begin system patrol. Intelligence suggests the Krethar have additional forces. We need current locations. Understood, Admiral. What about the Confederacy? They're probably in shock right now. Let them process what they saw, Yuna said. They summoned aid. They got it. Now they need to understand what Earth has become. The channel closed. Jinwoo looked out at the debris field that had been the Krethar's unstoppable armada. He felt no pride, no excitement, just quiet satisfaction that the job was done. Hyunwoo, he called to the young engineer. Send a message to the Confederacy vessels. Tell them the system is secure and they can begin recovery operations. Yes, Commander. Hyunwoo paused. Sir, should we tell them how old this weapon technology is? No, Jinwoo said. Not yet. Let them think this is our best. The truth would only scare them more. Because the weapons that had just erased the Krethar fleet were 40-year-old designs. The technology that Earth currently used was far, far more advanced. But the galaxy didn't need to know that yet. In the command center of the Krethar Empire, Emperor Zulrax received news of the disaster with cold fury. His greatest fleet, destroyed in minutes by an unknown species. Who are these humans? He demanded. Records show they were a minor power 200 years ago, Excellency, an advisor said nervously. They isolated themselves for unknown reasons. Then they are not a minor power anymore, Zulrax said darkly. If they can destroy 3,000 ships so easily, what else can they do? Should we sue for peace, Excellency? Another advisor suggested carefully. Peace? Zulrax's eyes blazed. The Krethar Empire has ruled this region for 500 years. We do not surrender to anyone. Mobilize the Home Guard. Mobilize the executor fleets. Bring every ship we have. We will crush these humans and make an example of them. That will take every military asset we have, Excellency. Our entire empire will be undefended if— Do it! Zulrax roared. I will not let some upstart species humiliate the Krethar Empire. His advisors bowed and rushed to carry out the orders. Within hours, the Krethar began assembling the largest war fleet in their history. 5,000 ships, the absolute maximum they could field. The entire military might of an empire that had conquered hundreds of worlds. They would teach humanity to fear the Krethar name. They had no idea what was coming for them. Dr. Minji arrived at the Confederacy Science Station with a small team of human researchers. The station was in chaos. Alien scientists crowded around holographic displays, arguing loudly and gesturing wildly. When Minji walked in, they all turned to stare at her. Dr. Minji, High Chancellor Vextar, greeted her. Thank you for coming. We have been studying the sensor data from the battle. We have many questions. I'm here to answer what I can, Minji said with a friendly smile. She was young for a human scientist, but her clearance level was high. Earth had sent her specifically to start sharing some knowledge with their new allies. An elderly Confederacy scientist stepped forward, his tentacles quivering with excitement or fear. Minji couldn't tell which. The weapons you used. They bypassed quantum shielding entirely. We thought quantum shielding was theoretically impenetrable. It was, Minji agreed. About 150 years ago, quantum shielding was considered the ultimate defense. Earth used it too. Used? Another scientist asked. Past tense? We abandoned quantum shielding a century ago, Minji explained, bringing up a holographic display. The problem with quantum shields is that they exist in only 4 dimensions. Our weapons operate in 11 dimensions. To quantum shields, our weapons don't exist until they've already hit the target. Silence fell over the room. Finally, Vextar spoke carefully. What do you use now for defense? Dimensional folding, Minji said. Our ships exist slightly outside normal space. Weapons have to hit us in multiple dimensions simultaneously to cause damage. So far, we haven't encountered anyone capable of that. A Confederacy scientist sat down heavily. We thought we were advanced. We thought quantum shielding was cutting-edge technology. Minji's expression softened. You are advanced. Quantum shielding is excellent technology. You just had the bad luck to face an enemy with it and then summon an ally who had moved beyond it. How? Vextar asked quietly. How did humanity advance so far in just 200 years? Minji paused, choosing her words carefully. 2 centuries ago, humanity witnessed another species destroy themselves with advanced weapons. They developed technology faster than their wisdom to use it. Within 50 years, they went from space travel to complete extinction. We decided that would not happen to us. She brought up another display showing Earth's timeline. We withdrew from galactic society and imposed strict rules on ourselves. No weapons development without corresponding ethical frameworks. No technology sharing without proper safeguards. And most importantly, we used artificial intelligence research cascades. Research cascades? A scientist asked. AI systems that could design better AI systems, which could then design even better ones, Minji explained. But we kept them focused on peaceful applications. Medicine, engineering, physics, mathematics. Each generation of AI built on the last one. While other civilizations advanced linearly, Earth advanced exponentially. But you built weapons, Vextar pointed out. Yes, Minji acknowledged, because we knew that someday we might need to defend ourselves. Or others. We built weapons, but we built them responsibly. We tested them extensively. We made sure humans remained in control. And we never forgot the species that destroyed themselves. Captain Deho entered the room. Dr. Minji, I just received word. Commander Nari's special operations teams have begun ground assaults on Krithar-occupied worlds. Already? Vextar said in surprise. We only just won the space battle. Minji smiled. Space battles are Commander Jinwoo's job. Ground liberation is Commander Nari's specialty. On the occupied world of Talvex Prime, Krithar soldiers guarded a massive prison camp. Inside, thousands of Confederacy civilians waited to be processed and shipped off to labor colonies. The Krithar had done this to hundreds of worlds. Sergeant Corvin walked his patrol route, weapon ready. He had heard about the fleet disaster, but didn't believe it. Krithar were invincible. Those reports must be propaganda. Something flickered at the edge of his vision. Corvin turned, raising his weapon. Nothing there. Must have been his imagination. Then he heard screaming from the guard tower. He ran toward it, calling for backup on his radio. No response. Just static. Corvin reached the tower and found it empty. 3 guards had been stationed there. Now they were just gone. Their weapons lay on the floor, but no bodies, no blood, no signs of struggle. What in the void? Corvin whispered. Behind him, the prison camp's main gates opened. Prisoners poured out, running toward freedom. Corvin spun around, raising his weapon to fire into the crowd. His finger tightened on the trigger. His weapon vanished from his hands. Just disappeared. Corvin stumbled backward in shock. A shape materialized in front of him, fading into visibility like a ghost becoming solid. It was humanoid, wearing black armor that seemed to absorb light. The figure's helmet showed no face, just a reflective surface. Do not move, a female voice said from the figure. Commander Nari Corvin tried to run. He made it 3 steps before his legs stopped working. He collapsed, completely paralyzed but still conscious. Around him, other Krithar soldiers were dropping, frozen in place by weapons they couldn't see. More humans phased into visibility. They moved through the camp with practiced efficiency, freeing prisoners and securing Krithar soldiers. They moved through walls like they weren't even there, appearing inside locked buildings. One prisoner, an elderly Confederacy female, stared at the humans in awe. Are you real? Or am I dreaming? We're real, one of the human soldiers assured her, speaking through a translator. You're safe now. Earth has come to help. Within 2 hours, the entire camp was liberated. Not a single prisoner was harmed. Every Krithar soldier was captured alive, secured with restraints they couldn't break. Commander Nari stood in the camp's command center reviewing the operation. All teams report in. Team 2, all objectives secured. 0 casualties. Team 5, liberation complete. Prisoners are receiving medical attention. Team 8, Krithar Weapons Depot secured and catalogued. Good work, Nari said. She opened a channel to Admiral Yuna. Admiral Talvex Prime is secure, beginning operations on the next 3 worlds. Excellent, Commander. How are the locals reacting? Confused mostly, Nari replied. Some think we're ghosts or spirits. One group tried to build us a shrine. Yuna laughed. Well, let's try not to be worshipped. We're just doing our job. Back on the Confederacy Science Station, more reports came in. 12 occupied worlds liberated in 1 day. 0 civilian casualties. All Kryther forces captured or neutralized. I don't understand, a Confederacy military officer said, studying the reports. How can your soldiers walk through walls? How do they make weapons disappear? Phase shift technology, Minji explained. We can briefly shift objects or people slightly out of normal space. To you, it looks like they're walking through walls. Really, they're just moving through a different dimensional layer. And the weapons disappearing? Localized dimensional pockets. Think of it as a temporary storage space that exists outside normal reality. We shift objects into it and they disappear from your perspective. Vexitar looked at the casualty reports. You could have killed all those soldiers. Why did you capture them instead? Because killing should be a last resort, Minji said firmly. Those soldiers were following orders. They're not all evil. They can be tried for their crimes, rehabilitated and given a chance to make amends. Death ends that possibility. The Krythar don't think that way, Vexitar said quietly. They will see mercy as weakness. Let them, Minji replied. We know the difference between mercy and weakness. If they can't learn it, that's their problem. A communications officer burst into the room. Hi, Chancellor. We're receiving reports from the Krythar Empire's territory. They're mobilizing their home guard. Sensor data suggests 5,000 ships, maybe more. The room fell silent. Even after seeing what humanity could do, 5,000 ships was a terrifying number. That's their entire military, Vexitar said. Everything they have. How many human ships are in the combat zone? Someone asked nervously. Checking now, the officer said, typing rapidly. 12. 12 human ships in position. Fear rippled through the room. 12 ships against 5,000? The first battle had been 47 against 3,000, and that had seemed impossible. This was so much worse. Only Minji remained calm. I should contact Earth Command. They'll want to know about this development. Will they send more ships? Vexitar asked hopefully. Probably not, Minji said. 12 should be enough. Enough? The scientist exclaimed. Against 5,000? Minji looked at them with gentle eyes. Hi, Chancellor. I need to tell you something, and you need to hear it even though it will frighten you. Everyone leaned in. The weapons we used in the first battle were 40-year-old designs, Minji said quietly. They were scheduled to be decommissioned and replaced with newer models. We brought them out of storage specifically for this operation. Why? Vexitar asked, confused. Because we wanted to be measured in our response, Minji explained. We wanted to win without showing our true capabilities. The Krythar needed to be stopped, but we didn't want to terrify the entire galaxy in the process. You have better weapons? Someone whispered. Minji nodded. Much better. The 12 ships waiting for the Krythar fleet are equipped with current generation systems. Trust me when I say this. The Krythar are about to learn a very harsh lesson. Which is? That humanity didn't become strong to conquer others, Minji said. We became strong so that no one would ever threaten the innocent again. The Krythar Empire has spent 500 years bullying weaker species. That ends now. In orbit around the Krythar Empire's staging area, 12 human ships waited in perfect formation. Inside the lead ship, Commander Jinwoo reviewed the enemy fleet composition with Lieutenant Sora. 5,136 vessels, Sora reported, including their Emperor's personal flagship. They're bringing everything. Good, Jinwoo said. Then we can end this war in one battle. Commander, Yanwoo called from engineering. Should I activate the new systems? Not yet, Jinwoo replied. Let them arrive first. Let them see us. Let them think they have a chance. Then we show them what Earth has really been building for 200 years. The Krythar fleet began to arrive, ship after ship dropping out of FTL. They formed a massive wall of metal and firepower that stretched across space. Emperor Julrax himself commanded the fleet from his throne aboard the super dreadnought Immortal Reign. When he saw only 12 human ships waiting, he smiled cruelly. 12 ships, he announced to his fleet. They send 12 ships against the entire might of the Krythar Empire. Today we will show the galaxy what happens to those who oppose us. His fleet roared with approval. Commander Jinwoo watched them assemble and spoke quietly to his crew. All ships, prepare for engagement. Let's make this quick. Fleet Admiral Taeyang stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship Divine Horizon and watched the refugee ships flee from the Krithar homeworld of Raxtillion. Millions of civilians were evacuating, taking humanity's warning seriously even if their emperor did not. Good, Taeyang said quietly. At least some of them have sense. Beside her, diplomatic officer Ji-young reviewed the latest communication logs. The emperor has refused our terms for the 5th time. He says the Krithar Empire will never surrender to what he calls upstart children playing with stolen technology. Taeyang raised an eyebrow. Stolen technology? From whom exactly? He didn't specify, Ji-young said with a slight smile. I think he can't accept that we developed it ourselves. His acceptance isn't required, Taeyang said. Is the civilian evacuation proceeding on schedule? Yes, Admiral. Our intelligence suggests 80% of the civilian population is leaving. The Emperor has forbidden military personnel from evacuating. He's ordered them to fight to the death. Taeyang's expression hardened. Then we'll have to save them from their own leader. How fortified is the planet? A tactical officer brought up a holographic display. Extremely, Admiral. 40,000 defense platforms in orbital layers. 8,000 military vessels. Planetary shields covering all major cities. Ground-based weapons arrays. Ancient defense grid that's supposedly impenetrable. This is the most heavily defended world we've ever encountered. Supposedly impenetrable. Taeyang repeated. I'm old enough to remember when people said that about quantum shields. The officer smiled nervously. Yes, Admiral. How many ships do we have in position? 200, Admiral. With the chronospheres loaded and ready. Taeyang nodded. Then let's begin. Open a final channel to Emperor Julrax. In his throne room on Raxtillion, Emperor Julrax received the transmission with contempt. The human admiral's face appeared, an older woman with gray in her hair and ice in her eyes. Emperor Julrax, Taeyang said formally, this is your final opportunity. Surrender yourself and your military command for trial. Allow your people to choose new leadership. Accept terms of peace, or what? Julrax sneered. You'll attack my homeworld? The heart of an empire that has stood for 500 years? You don't have enough ships to even scratch our defenses. You're right, Taeyang acknowledged. We don't have enough ships to fight your defenses in conventional warfare. Good thing we don't fight conventionally. You have 1 hour to reconsider. The transmission ended. Julrax laughed and turned to his daughter, Princess Kiravel, who stood beside the throne. Did you hear that? They think they can threaten us here in our stronghold. Father, Kiravel said carefully, I've been studying humanity's history. What records we could find. They have never lost a war, not one, in their entire recorded history. Because they hid behind their borders like cowards, Julrax snapped. They never faced a real empire. Father, please. Kiravel brought up data on a tablet. Look at this. Before they isolated themselves, humanity fought dozens of wars. Civil wars, alien conflicts, even wars against their own artificial intelligence. They won every single time, sometimes at terrible cost, but they always won. Ancient history, Julrax dismissed it. And their technology, Kiravel continued desperately. They destroyed your fleet in minutes. Our quantum shields, the technology that made us invincible, were useless. What if their other weapons are just as advanced? Enough! Julrax stood from his throne. I am Emperor. My word is final. We fight. If you cannot support that decision, leave my sight. Kiravel bowed and left, her heart heavy with dread. Exactly 1 hour later, the human fleet moved into position. 200 ships arrayed around the planet in a perfect sphere. Defense platforms are locking weapons on us, the tactical officer reported to Admiral Taeyang. Let them, Taeyang said calmly. Deploy the chronospheres. The human ships released what looked like silver orbs. They expanded rapidly, growing to enormous size until they surrounded the entire planet in a shimmering field. On Raxtillion, alarm screamed. Emperor Julrax ran to the command center. What's happening? Unknown field surrounding the planet, a technician reported frantically. It's not a shield. It's not a weapon. We don't know what it is. Then fire on it. Destroy it. Defense platforms opened fire. Thousands of weapons shot at the silver field. The shots passed through it without any effect. Then time began to slow. On Raxtillion, everything moved normally from the inhabitants' perspective. But to outside observers, the planet had become trapped in temporal distortion. Time inside the chronospheres moved at 1/1000th normal speed. To the Krythar, the human ship suddenly appeared to move impossibly fast. From the Krythar perspective, humanity's vessels became blurs of motion, too quick to track or target. To the humans, the Krythar moved in extreme slow motion. A soldier raising a weapon took what seemed like minutes. A ship trying to turn took hours from the human perspective. Admiral Taiyang watched the display with satisfaction. Begin systematic disarmament. Capture, don't destroy. We need evidence for the trials. The human fleet moved through the Krythar defenses like wolves through a frozen herd. They approached defense platforms one by one, using precision tools to disable them without destruction. Krythar ships tried to fight back, but their weapons moved so slowly that human ships could dodge them easily. Emperor Julrax watched in mounting horror as his defenses fell. His weapons couldn't hit anything. His ships couldn't move fast enough. The humans were dismantling 500 years of military might, and he couldn't stop them. How? He whispered. How is this possible? A technician finally understood what was happening. They've slowed time inside a field around our planet. To them, we're moving incredibly slowly. To us, they're moving impossibly fast. Then reverse it. Speed up our time. We don't have that technology, Excellency. We don't even understand how they created this field. Julrax collapsed into a chair. His empire, his power, his military, all of it was being taken apart piece by piece, and there was nothing he could do. Princess Kiravel entered the command center. Father, I'm taking action. What? Julrax looked up at her in confusion. You've lost, Kiravel said firmly. Your pride has brought our empire to ruin. Billions are dead because of your wars of conquest. Now you've brought an enemy we cannot defeat to our doorstep. As heir to the throne, I'm invoking the crisis protocol. You are removed from command. You dare? Julrax stood, reaching for his sidearm. Kiravel was faster. She pulled her own weapon and aimed it at her father. Behind her, a dozen royal guards entered, weapons ready. They pointed them not at Kiravel, but at the Emperor. I dare, Kiravel said quietly, because I love our people more than I fear you. Guards, take the Emperor into custody. Julrax was dragged away, screaming about betrayal and treason. Kiravel immediately opened a channel to the human fleet. This is Princess Kiravel of the Krythar Royal House. I have assumed emergency command. I wish to negotiate terms of surrender. Diplomatic Officer Ji Young appeared on screen. Princess, we're pleased to hear from you. Are you prepared to accept full terms? Yes, Kiravel said without hesitation. Complete disarmament of all military forces. Trials for war crimes, including my father. Reparations to all conquered peoples. And acceptance of whatever governance structure you deem appropriate. Those are harsh terms, Ji Young noted. They're just terms, Kiravel replied. We committed terrible crimes. We destroyed civilizations. We enslaved billions. We deserve punishment, not mercy. Ji Young was quiet for a moment. You understand the situation better than your father did. Very well. Order all military forces to stand down. We'll begin the disarmament process. Over the next 3 days, humanity systematically dismantled the Krythar Empire's military. Every ship was boarded and decommissioned. Every weapon was cataloged and secured. Every soldier was processed and documented. Not a single shot was fired in anger. The humans worked with mechanical precision, treating even their enemies with firm but fair respect. High Chancellor Vextar arrived with a Confederacy delegation to witness the proceedings. Captain Deho accompanied him. I still can't believe it, Vextar said, watching human soldiers direct Krythar troops into processing centers. They conquered an empire in less than a week. Conquered? Deho shook his head. They didn't conquer. They liberated. Look at those Krythar soldiers. They're not being executed or enslaved. They're being processed for trials. The guilty will be punished. The innocent will be freed. The Confederacy would have killed them all, Vextar admitted quietly, after what they did to our worlds. I know, Deho said. That's the difference between revenge and justice. Admiral Taiyang met with Princess Kiravel in a secure conference room. Ji Young was present, along with several other human officials. We've reviewed the evidence, Taiyang said. Your father and approximately 200 high-ranking officials will face war crimes trials. The trials will be fair, with proper legal representation. And me? Kiravel asked. You were military, Taiyang acknowledged. You participated in some campaigns, but according to our investigation, you advocated for restraint. argued against targeting civilians, and ultimately removed your father from power to prevent further bloodshed. You'll testify at the trials but face no charges yourself. Kiravel looked surprised. You're showing me mercy? We're showing you justice, Ji-young corrected. There's a difference. You made mistakes, but you also tried to make things right. That matters. What happens to the Krithar people now? Kiravel asked. That depends on them, Taeyang said. Your empire is dissolved. Your military is dismantled. But your people can rebuild. They can choose new leadership, create new governments, decide their own future. We'll help with the transition, but we won't rule over you. Why not? Kiravel asked. You could easily control us. Because control isn't the goal, Taeyang replied. Peace is the goal. Justice is the goal. We didn't come here to build an empire. We came here to stop one. Back on the Confederacy flagship, High Chancellor Vextar spoke with Admiral Yuna via long-range communication. Admiral, Vextar said carefully, may I ask a difficult question? Of course, Yuna replied. Why did Earth help us? You could have let the Krithar expand. Eventually, they might have threatened your borders, but that could have taken decades. Why intervene now? Yuna was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was cold and clear.
High Chancellor, imagine you're the strongest person in a room.
Someone attacks a weaker person right in front of you. What do? Help them, of course. Exactly, Yuna said. Now imagine you're the strongest nation in the galaxy. An empire starts conquering and enslaving weaker species. What do? You intervene, Vextar said slowly. We intervene, Yuna confirmed. Not because we're heroes. Not because we're altruistic. But because if we let the Krithar win, if we let them continue their expansion, eventually someone would look at Earth and think, they didn't stop the Krithar. Maybe they're weak. Maybe we can attack them too. Vexitar felt a chill run through him. So this was a demonstration. This was a statement, Yuna corrected. A statement to every species in the galaxy. The Krithar Empire was strong. They were feared. They were considered unstoppable. And we erased them in a week. The message is clear. Don't threaten the innocent. Don't start wars of conquest, because if you do, you'll face humanity. And if someone doesn't listen to that message, Yuna's smile was cold. Then we'll have to give another demonstration. 3 months after the fall of the Krithar Empire, Ambassador Suman sat in a conference room aboard the newly constructed Galactic Council station. Around the table sat representatives from 47 different species, all waiting nervously for the meeting to begin. Captain Daeho, now promoted to liaison director, stood beside Suman as her advisor. He had been through so much in the past few months that it felt like years. They're all afraid, Daeho whispered to Suman. I know, Suman replied quietly. Fear can be useful, but we need to turn it into respect. That's why we're here. The meeting began. High Chancellor Vextar, now representing the Confederacy, spoke first. We are here to discuss the formation of a new galactic organization. The Krithar Empire's fall has left a power vacuum. Many of us fear what will fill it. You fear Earth will fill it, a reptilian ambassador said bluntly. You fear we're trading one empire for another. Suman stood, her expression calm and open. That's a fair concern. Let me address it directly. Earth has no interest in becoming an empire. We don't want to rule over other species. We don't want your resources or your territory. Then what do you want? Another ambassador asked suspiciously. Peace, Suman said simply. Stability. A galaxy where species can develop and grow without fear of conquest. That's what we want. And how do we know you're telling the truth? The reptilian ambassador challenged. You have the most powerful military in the galaxy. Why wouldn't you use it? Before Suman could answer, the doors opened. Intelligence Officer Junho entered carrying a secured data pad. He nodded to Suman, who gestured for him to speak. Distinguished delegates, Junho began. I'm here to share classified information about Earth's military capabilities, information that until now only a handful of people knew. The room fell silent. Junho activated a holographic display. The battle where we first engaged the Krithar involved 47 human ships. Those ships were training vessels used for instruction and practice. They were crewed by students and young officers gaining experience. Gasps echoed around the room. The weapons those ships used were 40-year-old designs, scheduled for decommissioning. We brought them out of storage specifically because we wanted to use measured force. Measured force? Someone whispered in shock. Earth's actual military fleet consists of 12,000 warships, Junho continued. The number hit the delegates like a physical blow. All of them are equipped with current-generation technology, which is significantly more advanced than what you witnessed being used against the Krithar. A delegate stood up, her hands shaking. 12,000 ships? With weapons more powerful than what destroyed the Krithar fleet in minutes? Yes, Junho confirmed. But we've never deployed them all at once. We've never needed to. Why are you telling us this? Vextar asked quietly. Transparency, Suman said. You need to understand what Earth is capable of. Not to frighten you, but so you can make informed decisions. We could hide our strength, but that would breed more suspicion. Better that you know the truth, Junho continued. We also have weapons we didn't use against the Krithar. Planet killers that can destroy worlds from orbit. Stellar anchors that can destabilize stars. Quantum eradicators that can remove entire fleets from existence across multiple dimensions simultaneously. He paused. We built these weapons. We tested them, but we've never used them in combat. They exist only as a final deterrent in case we face an enemy that threatens all life in the galaxy. The delegates sat in stunned silence. Finally, an elderly ambassador spoke, her voice barely audible. You could destroy us all. Any of us, all of us. Why haven't you? Because destruction isn't strength, Suman said firmly. Anyone can destroy. True strength is knowing when not to. We could have exterminated the Krithar. Instead, we captured them, tried them fairly, and gave them a chance to rebuild. That's the difference between power and wisdom. Dr. Minji, who had been invited to the meeting, stood up. 200 years ago, humanity made a choice. We saw another species destroy themselves with advanced technology. They advanced too fast, developed weapons beyond their wisdom to use them, and it led to their extinction. We decided we would not make that mistake. So you isolated yourselves, Vextar said. We isolated ourselves to grow, Minji confirmed. Not just technologically, but philosophically. We studied ethics, law, justice, responsibility. We debated for decades about how to use our power responsibly. We created systems of checks and balances. We made sure humans remained in control of our AI. We built weapons but vowed never to use them unless absolutely necessary. And now? A delegate asked. Now we're ready, Suman said, ready to rejoin galactic society. Not as conquerors, but as partners. We're proposing a new alliance, the Terran Coalition. She brought up a holographic document. The coalition would be voluntary. Member species would receive protection from external aggression and access to limited technology sharing. In exchange, members would agree to strict rules. No genocide. No slavery. No wars of conquest. No targeting of civilian populations. And if a species violates these rules? Someone asked. Then Earth intervenes, Suman said. Quickly and decisively. Just as we did with the Krithar. So we trade the Krithar Empire for Earth's oversight? The reptilian ambassador said skeptically. No. Deho spoke up. You trade fear of conquest for guaranteed protection. The Krithar took your freedom. The coalition preserves it. You can refuse to join. Earth won't force you, but if you join, you're protected. An insectoid ambassador spoke for the first time. What about Earth's mistakes? What if your judgment is wrong? What if you intervene where you shouldn't? That's a valid concern, Suman acknowledged. That's why we're proposing a council with representation from all member species. Earth won't make decisions unilaterally. We'll consult, debate, and decide together. We provide military force, but the council provides oversight. Can we truly provide oversight when you're so much more powerful? A delegate challenged. Yes, Suman said firmly, because might doesn't make right. We believe in justice, law, and democratic principles. We'll submit to council decisions because that's what civilized societies do. The meeting continued for hours. Concerns were raised, questions answered, compromises negotiated. By the end, 23 species voted to join the coalition immediately. Another 15 wanted time to consider. The rest chose to remain independent but opened diplomatic channels. Afterward, Daiho found High Chancellor Vexitar standing alone, looking out at the stars. What are you thinking? Daiho asked. About the day we sent that desperate message to Earth. Vexitar said quietly. We were dying. We called for help, not knowing if anyone would answer. We certainly didn't expect what we got. Regrets? No, Vexitar said. But I'm trying to understand. Why does Earth care so much about justice and peace? You could rule the galaxy as emperors. Why choose to be protectors instead? Daiho was quiet for a moment. In human history, we've seen what happens when the strong abuse the weak. We've been both victim and aggressor. We've made terrible mistakes. But we learned from them. We learned that true security doesn't come from dominating others. It comes from building a society where everyone is safe. Even the weak? Vextar asked. Especially the weak, Deho confirmed. Because today's weak might be tomorrow's innovators, artists, or leaders. If we let them be destroyed, we lose what they could have contributed. The Krithar saw other species as inferior. We see them as potential partners. On Earth, Admiral Yuna stood in the orbital command center and watched coalition ships patrol various sectors. Human vessels worked alongside Confederacy ships, training them in new tactics and technology. Commander Jinwoo entered carrying a report. Admiral, the training exercises went well. The Confederacy crews are adapting quickly to our technology. Good, Yuna said. How are relations between the crews? Improving. Some cultural friction, but nothing serious. The Confederacy personnel are starting to trust us. Trust takes time, Yuna noted, but it's worth building. What about the former Krithar territories? Rebuilding continues. Princess Kiravel has been helpful. She's encouraging her people to cooperate and accept their new circumstances. Most are responding positively. And War Marshal Thraknor's trial begins next week. He'll face justice for his crimes. Dr. Minji says the evidence is overwhelming, Yuna nodded. Justice, not revenge. That's important to remember. Lieutenant Sora approached. Admiral, we're receiving a distress signal from the Andromeda relay. Unknown aggressors are attacking civilian transports. The species sending the signal isn't part of the coalition. Yuna didn't hesitate. Dispatch the 7th Fleet. Rules of engagement, protection of civilians is paramount. Capture if possible, destroy if necessary. Show them why humanity doesn't lose. Even though they're not coalition members? Sora asked. Especially because they're not coalition members, Yuna said firmly. They need to see that Earth's protection isn't just for our allies. It's for anyone who needs it. As human ships jumped to FTL heading toward another crisis, Yuna reflected on how much had changed. 3 months ago, Earth was isolated and unknown. Now they were the galaxy's protector, whether other species liked it or not. On a liberated Confederacy world, Engineer Hyunwoo worked with local technicians to rebuild destroyed infrastructure. A young alien child approached him, offering a small handmade gift. Thank you for saving us, the child said in broken human language. Hyunwoo accepted the gift with a smile. You're welcome, but you don't need to thank us. This is what neighbors do. They help each other. Will you stay? The child asked. Will Earth protect us? As long as you need us, Hyunwoo promised. And when you're strong enough to protect yourselves, we'll still be here as friends. In the Krithar territories, Princess Kiravel met with human advisors to discuss rebuilding efforts. Ambassador Suman and Dr. Minji were present. My people are struggling, Kiravel admitted. For 500 years, we were an empire. Now we're just people. Many don't know how to process that. It takes time to heal from that mindset, Suman said gently. But you're making progress. The fact that you're here working with us shows that change is possible. Some still call me a traitor, Kiravel said quietly. For removing my father. For surrendering. And others call you a hero, Minji pointed out. For ending a war that would have killed millions more. History will judge you kindly, Princess. I hope so, Kiravel said. I want my people to have a future. Not as conquerors, but as contributors. We cause so much pain, I want us to help heal it. Then you're already on the right path, Suman said. Back on the coalition station, Captain Deho recorded his final report on the Krithar War. He spoke into a recorder, knowing this would be read by future generations. The Confederacy summoned aid in their darkest hour. They expected help or perhaps a rescue. What they received was something far more significant. A demonstration of what humanity had become during 2 centuries of isolation. We arrived with overwhelming force, but we used it with precision and mercy. We could have destroyed the Krithar Empire. Instead, we dismantled it, tried its leaders fairly, and gave its people a chance to rebuild. We showed the galaxy that strength without wisdom is meaningless, and that true power comes from knowing when not to destroy. The Terran Coalition now stands as a promise. No species will suffer conquest while humanity watches. Some call us peacekeepers. Others call us an empire in disguise. But I believe we're something different. We're the answer to a question every civilization must eventually face. What do we do with our power? Earth chose to protect rather than dominate, to build rather than conquer, to show mercy rather than revenge. Whether this choice proves wise remains to be seen. But for now, in this moment, the galaxy is safer than it has been in centuries, and that's worth fighting for. Deho ended the recording and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Seventh Fleet was responding to another crisis. Somewhere else, human engineers were helping rebuild destroyed worlds. Across the galaxy, Earth's presence was being felt, not as conquerors, as guardians. The Confederacy had summoned aid in desperation. They received salvation, yes, but also a warning to the rest of the galaxy. A warning that spread across millions of worlds, whispered in marketplaces and government chambers, taught to children as a cautionary tale. There is a species called humanity. They are few in number but vast in power. They build weapons that can destroy stars, but they use them only to protect the innocent. They have the strength to rule the galaxy, but they choose to serve instead. They will help you if you ask. They will stop you if you threaten others. And they will never, ever lose. Pray you never need to call them. And pray harder you never face them as an enemy, because when humanity makes a promise, they keep it. No matter the cost, no matter the odds, no matter what stands in their way. The Confederacy learned this. The Creator learned this. Soon the entire galaxy would know. When humanity says we will protect you, they mean it absolutely. And when humanity says do not threaten the innocent, it's not a request. It's the last warning anyone receives. Admiral Yuna smiled as reports came in of the Seventh Fleet successfully defending the civilian transports. 0 casualties among the innocents. All aggressors captured or neutralized. Commander Jinwoo stood beside her. Do you think we did the right thing? Coming out of isolation? Yuna watched Earth rotating peacefully below the station. 200 years ago, we withdrew because we weren't ready for our own power. We needed to grow, to learn, to become wise enough to wield what we had built. Now we're ready. Not perfect, but ready. And if we make mistakes? Jinwoo asked. Then we learn from them, like we always have. The important thing is we're trying. We're using our strength for something good. That matters. Lieutenant Sora approached with a new report. Admiral, we're receiving thanks from 17 species for defending those transports. None of them are coalition members yet. Good, Yuna said. Let them see what we stand for. Let them choose to join us because they believe in our principles, not because they fear our weapons. And if some still choose aggression? Sora asked. Yuna's eyes hardened. Then we remind them why humanity emerged from isolation as the most powerful force in the galaxy. Remind them what happens to those who prey on the weak. Yes, Admiral. As the sun rose over Earth, painting the planet in gold and blue, humanity stood watch over a galaxy that no longer feared conquest. The strong protected the weak. The wise guided the foolish. And somewhere in space, in every corner of known civilization, people looked up at the stars and felt safe. Because humanity was watching, and humanity never ever lost.